introducing her. So Mona, if you could please introduce Audrey.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Mona, and this spring session, I mentored Audrey, who is a rising 8th grader at MUSD. I've had the pleasure of mentoring several mentees through Magic at this point, and Audrey's probably one of the first who came to our sessions with a project idea not just fully formed, but already underway. In our first session, I learned about her passion for design, and she shared several renderings she had created in school that she now wished to use as the base for 3D models. Throughout all our sessions, I've been consistently blown away by Audrey's initiative and work ethic. Even when we needed to pivot and switch the modeling software we were using partway through our sessions, Audrey was quick to recover and move on to find a software that would better suit our needs. I really hope some of her biggest takeaways from this spring will be the value of communication and collaboration. I'll now let her take it away as she shares with you her project.
Thank you, Mona. My mentor is Mona Kashyap, and she works as a software engineer at Moody's Analytics, based out of their New York City office. She's from Chicago, but she currently lives in Brooklyn, New York. She likes to cook new recipes, go on runs, and spend time with her family. Next slide, please. My project is to make a 3D Bob. Bob is a 2D character that I designed, and for my project, I wanted to make him 3D. Through my project, I learned how to connect design with engineering, which are two very different fields. I was using FreeCAD to design Bob in the beginning, and as you can see in that image, is what I had of Bob so far. More than half of Bob was rendered, but the rest was more challenging and things weren't quite working out, so I switched to another tool, Tinkercad, for the remaining design work. And in this image, that's Tinkercad Bob. Next slide, please. These are my 2D designs of Bob. This is Bob's family and friends, and that's another one of his friends. And in the picture on the left is an illustration that I made in my art class where Bob is a very important character. When I created Bob, the 2D version at first, he has quite a bit of a life story. I created him as just a smiley face in 5th grade that I like to put on my homework. And I brought him to 6th grade and introduced him to my friends. Then he got plastic surgery and looks like that now instead of just a smiley face. And then one day I found this foam block lying outside, and it gave me the idea to turn 2D Bob into 3D Bob, and that was the inspiration for my project. And this is my only actual 3D version of him right now. Next slide, please. For my project, I designed 3D Bob, but along with Bob, I designed some of his friends. I designed Bob Arena, Inner Ears, and his beautiful wife, Bobina. Next slide, please. Through my magical experience, I learned more about a few topics and technologies. I learned about engineering and design and how these two fields could connect with each other. I also learned about the value of open access software. The two tools that I used throughout my project were both free, and that saved me money, obviously, and the time and effort worrying about the payment for these tools. FreeCAD looks like this. The image on the top is a software that you need to download to use, and in it you can build and design a lot of 3D things. And this second tool is called Tinkercad, and it's not something you need to download. You can use it in your browser, And in it, you can also design and build 3D objects. And I learned these technologies from my dad, so thank you to my dad for introducing these to me. Next slide, please. As I was progressing with my project, there were some challenges that I faced. And one major challenge was learning how to use the different features and functions in FreeCAD. I would follow tutorials on YouTube to learn how to use it because it was a very complex tool. However, I would receive error messages while experimenting with the different workbenches in FreeCAD. And these workbenches are just panels with different tools that you can use. In the tutorials, I would be doing just exactly what the person in the video was doing, but somehow something would go wrong and I wouldn't be able to continue. Next slide, please. This is a picture of one of the error messages that I received. In this, I was trying to design one of Bob's fingers, and I would get really confused here because it's just telling me that the wire is not closed and recompute failed, and I didn't really understand what any of this meant, and it wasn't very clear on how I could fix the problem. And referring to the internet wasn't working. I couldn't find anything online that would help me solve this problem. So eventually I had to switch to Tinkercad, which was a little simpler and easier for me to design my Bob character. Next slide, please.
This is Bob. Well, Bob.
This is Bob. Well, Bob before he had proper feet and hairline. This was my rough draft of 3D Bob when I first started designing him on Tinkercad. With the 2D square Bob as my reference, I put together cubes and cylinders to create 3D cube Bob. However, the 3D feet I put on Bob didn't seem quite right. So I revised my design for him to look like this. As you can see, he's got actual feet and a hairline.
This is Bob. Well,
changes. That one, he would look more similar to the original design, and two, he would be able to stand when 3D printed, and his hairline would actually be visible. With my goal of getting Bob 3D printed, he would have to be able to stand, and 2 stick legs feet wouldn't get the job done. So I made the bottom of the feet flat and the entire leg wider for better support. Bob's married, and I couldn't leave out his wife, so here she is, Bobina. I used Bob as the base for Bobina and added various accessories. After adding the eyelashes and lipstick from the 2D design, I thought she could wear more accessories to give her more sass. So I added a hot pink purse and heels. Since I had other 2D designs of Bob's friends, I wanted to make them 3D as well. This is my first version of Bobarina. Again, I used Bob as the base and added accessories, including pink sleeves, a pink bow, and a pink skirt. I didn't like how rough and choppy the skirt was, so I adjusted it to make it a much smoother and nicer looking tutu. Bob didn't just have friends that looked like him. He had unique looking friends, like inner ears. A bear with all pink multi-ringed ears. These ears were a bit of a challenge. I wasn't sure on how to make them so they looked like the ones in the 2D design. But with the help of Mona, I experimented with different designs and decided on this version. I also kept in mind that he would need to be able to stand, and the legs from the 2D design wouldn't work. So I put feet with flat bottoms under the legs so he can stand, similar to what I did with Bob. These are the characters I designed for my project. And that's it.
All right. Does that be the presentation?
Yes, thank you for listening.
All right. We have any questions? Quiet crowd. Any questions remotely? Can you hear me?
I have a question on Zoom. That was really cool. I was wondering. Yeah, I was wondering if you thought of 3D printing these now that you have the CAD designs.
3D printing it was actually, I did have that idea. I know there's a 3D printer at my cousin's house, but I haven't quite had the time to go over there and get it 3D printed. It's ready to be exported and 3D printed though. I also tried asking my friends who have tech as their elective, because I know they have access to a 3D printer as well. But that didn't work either. But in the future, when I do get the time, I'm going to try to 3D print him so I have a better looking version of this.